Welcome to another episode of the Civil War era music series from the Civil War Institute. I'm Emily Jumba, and I'm one of the fellows here at the CWI, and I'm also a violinist in the Sunderland Conservatory Symphony Orchestra. Today's video is going to be a little bit different from our last video. Instead of focusing on different genres of music from the Civil War era, today I'm going to be focusing on Civil War era music in memory, with a particular focus on the song Ashokan Farewell, which was made famous by Ken Burns' PBS series on the Civil War. With the first few opening lines of this song, a lot of Americans immediately think of the Civil War. However, it wasn't written until more than a century after the war had ended. It was written in 1982 by Jay Ungar, and the title was by Molly Mason, who had named the song after the town Ashokan, where the pair had their annual Ashokan Fiddle and Dance Camp. And Unger was actually inspired to write this song whenever this camp and the summer was coming to a close one year, as he was feeling melancholy about it coming to an end and waiting until the next summer for it to start again. And he wrote the song in the style of a Scottish lament, and it sounds kind of similar to the sentimental songs that we discussed in the last video. So Unger wrote the song in D major, and it was originally performed by his band Fiddle Fever, and it was originally released in their album Waltz of the Wind. In 1984, Ken Burns received a copy of this album from a few other members of the band, and he decided that he wanted to use the song Ashokan Farewell for the main theme song for his upcoming documentary on the Civil War. So after collaborating with Unger and the other members of his band, they put together several variations of the song which are included in the series. And the series itself lasts for about 11 hours, and out of that 11 hours, approximately 59 minutes and 33 seconds are featuring the song Ashokan Farewell, which helps to explain why it is such a prominent feature in many Americans' memories of Civil War era music. And so there are several notable moments whenever the song is played during the series. So as a theme song, it is played in the opening of the series itself. It's also played whenever the Sullivan Bellow letter is being read. So Sullivan Bellow was a major in the 2nd Rhode Island Volunteer Infantry, and he was writing this letter to his wife Sarah around a week before the first Battle of Bull Run. And this letter contains very heavy influences of 19th century sentimentalism. An example of this is whenever he wrote, "When my last breath escapes me on the battlefield, it will whisper your name." And this is kind of referring to the idea of the good death, which many soldiers imagined going into the war, where if they were wounded and were going to die in battle, they would have the opportunity in their last moments to offer a few final poignant words to close friends or family members who would then be able to remember their valiant sacrifice. However, this was not really the case for most Civil War soldiers. However, it was a popular idea at the time. And so another theme that's also common in this letter is fighting to preserve the Union, and Bellow wrote that it was honorable to do so. So before going and enlisting in the 2nd Rhode Island Volunteer Infantry, Bellow was a lawyer and was also a member of the Rhode Island State House of Representatives, and he left behind his wife Sarah as well as his 2 sons, Edgar and William, whenever he went to fight in the war. And he was actually killed about a week or so after this letter was written at the first Battle of Bull Run. And so the authenticity of this letter has been questioned by historians. For example, Dr. Stephen Cushman has suggested that this letter was not written by Bellow because it does not match the style of other letters that are by him in the Rhode Island State Historical Society. In addition, Dr. Shirley Samuels and Robert Grandchamp, who are also historians, suggested that Bellow didn't actually write this letter, and have suggested that Horatio Rogers Jr., who was a friend of Bellow, had actually written this after the battle in order to console Sarah whenever he was informing her of Bellow's death. On the other hand, there are some historians who are not quite as particular as to whether Bellow wrote it or not is important to the documentary. For example, Dr. Frederick Zillian wrote, "Beyond this, my own interest is not with authenticity of the letter, but rather with whether the sentiments expressed in it are noble, honorable, and true." And so he was more concerned as to whether it actually truly represented 19th century sentiments and in this documentary as opposed to whether it was actually written by Below or not. And kind of similar to whether the letter was actually written by him or not, a lot of historians have also debated whether the song Ashokan Farewell should be included in the canon of Civil War era music. It is often included in the sets of performers who were performing music from that time period, as it is so common in many Americans' memories. And both sides do bring up relevant arguments as to whether it should be included, such as a lot of Americans do think of this song or think of the Civil War when they do hear this song, but then it also was not written at that time period. Like I said earlier, it was written more than a century later. So with all of this in mind, I'm going to perform the song for you now. And now I present to you Ashokan Farewell. So I hope you enjoyed the song, and I hope that it made you think a little bit more about these themes that we discussed today. And thank you for taking the time to watch this video.